everyone. Goodness, it's good to be back. It is so good to be back. I am so happy to be here with you again this beautiful Friday. Let's see, today is August 4th. And it is a gorgeous day in the Pacific Northwest. I hope you guys are having a fabulous summer. I am back after, I'm still actually recovering from my surgery. I did talk about this a little bit right before I left, but I have had a double mastectomy because I have the BRCA2 genetic mutation, which means I get somewhere between a 70 to 80% chance of getting breast cancer. But now that I have had my double mastectomy, uh, you know, the men in my life actually have a higher chance of getting breast cancer now than I do. So while it has not been fun, nobody likes going through surgery, I do feel like I have really embraced and chosen life. So that feels really good. Anyway, my name is Miri Pizann. I am a gluten-free coach. I am so happy to be here with the League of Gluten-Free Adventurers live to answer all of your questions and to hang out and let's talk about stuff for a little bit, right? So a friend of mine asked me recently, she's like, okay, but what exactly does a gluten-free coach do? And what I told her was, I remember what it was like to first be starting out gluten-free. And I couldn't figure out all the foods that were safe for me. I kept getting gluten, even though I thought I was okay. I tried all of the recipes, but they never came out right. Everything came out like a brick or flavorless. It was really disappointing. As someone who identifies as a baker, that was really upsetting. It was like all the rules that I knew out the window, gone. I had to start over from scratch with everything. I felt like I'd never have good bread again, let alone anything else that tasted good. And I even felt like a second-class citizen. Like I'd go to a restaurant and have to leave with cash in my pocket because they couldn't feed me. And it was like, why don't you're a restaurant. How do you not know what gluten is or how to avoid it? And I just remember feeling so small every time someone told me, well, one little bite won't hurt, as if they knew what will and won't hurt me, right? So I have learned and grown. I continue to learn and grow all the time, but I've pretty much got this down at this point, and I want to be able to share with everyone else who may be feeling those struggles, because it doesn't have to be like that and it doesn't stay like that forever. But the question is, how quickly do you want to move out of that phase and back into living an engaging and satisfying gluten-free adventure? So that's what I do. That's what I help with. So today, I want to talk with you about tips for eating safely when you are recovering. And I mean, like for me, coming from my perspective, having just gone through a major surgery where I was told basically I couldn't cook or bake for myself or my family for a few weeks, like, how do you eat gluten-free? How do you eat safely when you can't cook? Right? And how do you, what do you do, especially if it's for more than just a couple of days? So this week in the group, we've been talking about mostly being sick. And like, oh my gosh, some of the solutions that you people have for your sick foods are just amazing. I mean, like when I'm sick like that, the last thing I want to do is cook. I just can't move. And so the fact that you guys are making all of this stuff is just really astounding and beautiful. And I'm so jealous. I wish I had that kind of energy when I'm sick, but it's like, if I can like take a box and dump it into a bowl and nuke it for a few minutes, that's like, I'm tapped after that. So anyway, so I wanted to talk with you about like the solutions that I have, in case anybody else is looking at all of these complex things. I mean, like some people are just like, ramen, it's fabulous. Make sure you get a gluten-free one. And other people are like, I don't eat. And then I make all of this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't. when I'm sick, I don't have the energy to make anything. So a little bit of sick, and I'm also going to talk to you about what I was eating during my surgery and what solutions my husband and I came up with to make sure that both of us could eat, because bless his heart, my husband can do some amazing and beautiful and wonderful things. He is a wonderful human being. I love him so much, and he can't cook. And neither of us wanted him cooking because we want the recovery to actually go well. So anyway, so for sick, things that you can do so that you can eat safely. Now, if you happen to have some restaurants in your area that provide gluten-free food, you know what? Get yourself some gift cards. Buy them now. See, that's the thing, is like the way that you're going to get through this without being completely miserable, even more on top of being sick, is to prepare now. And I know I'm talking about this in August, and we are well and far and truly away from sicky season, but now's the time when you can start thinking about it. You just kind of squirrel away a gift card or some cash and just have it on standby for when you're going to need it later. And, like nobody knows when you're going to get sick, but if you do get sick every year, start prepping for it now. Set aside some gift cards. It can either be for a specific restaurant, or if you have access to DoorDash or Grubhub or any of those, you can get yourself gift cards for the service, and then have that restaurant deliver to you. So yes, stock up on gift cards, Grubhub, DoorDash. Set it aside for the days when you just can't cook. And you can also freeze ahead foods that you can then dump and nuke. So there's two different ways that you can do this, really. You can make the food and then freeze it, or you can prep the food, freeze that, and then when you're ready and you just really want a hot meal, you can take everything that's frozen, and assuming that this is for a crock pot recipe, but you take everything that's already been prepped and frozen, you dump it out of your little gallon bag, put the lid on it, set the crock pot to go. And in 6 to 8 hours, you'll have a hot steaming meal that is cooked fresh. And you know that it's safe for you because you prepped everything yourself. So, if you have like favorite crock pot recipes, bingo, just have something set aside for those days when you can't cook and you just can't move. And also, I strongly recommend keeping some canned or boxed soup on hand in your pantry. Like my husband and I each have a soup that we turn to when we're sick. They're different soups. Like I prefer chicken with rice at this point, not so much chicken noodle, but I'm sure it's out there, but I haven't bothered to look for it. And chicken with rice works really well for me, so I'm happy with that. And then my husband loves cream of tomato soup. Loves it, but only when he's sick. So you know what? I have like 3 or 4 boxes of each sitting in the pantry, just waiting for us. And we cycle it through, but usually we don't need to. So those are like my tips for when I'm sick. But what about like with the surgery where I couldn't use my arms for a while because the arms are connected to the chest and she didn't want me moving the chest too much? I actually set up a food train, and I did it myself instead of relying on an organization to do it, because I was concerned about whether or not people could cook for me. So local people did want to cook for me. And so in the food train, I had a description that said, Miri is highly allergic to gluten and dairy. If you have never cooked for her before, please don't. But here's a list of restaurants that you can buy a gift card for her. Or you can discuss with her now you can talk with me now beforehand about what would be safe ingredients. Because, you know, the fact was I had no idea like whether or not how much the pain was going to fog me over, whether or not I'd be, you know, conscious for a few days. So yeah, so I set up a food train. I offered people like, here are the different restaurants that we eat at regularly. Here's how to contact them. Here's where you can buy gift cards. And I set that up so that I could, if anybody asked me, you know, how can I help you? Food. We need food. We need safe food. Here's how to feed me. And it has been amazing. Absolutely amazing. The support, I feel so blessed and so lucky. So many people, like, just folks that I, you know, don't even necessarily know, like my in-laws friends have hooked us up and contributed to the food train, and it was really, really helpful. So helpful. So pretty much I have survived off of sandwiches this whole time, but I didn't have to cook. My husband didn't have to cook. Neither of us had to do dishes. And that has been such a huge help for both of us. And it was also really nice doing the gift card thing because um you know, I've lived in this area for a couple of years now, since 2019, but before that we lived in LA for like 20 years. And so most of our friends, most of our family of the heart is out of town, and they wanted to help and support me also. And so this was a way that they could, by buying gift cards. Anyway, so, you know, and you just set it up and say, hey, if you want to help, this is how to do it. Here's the access. But you have to set it up beforehand. You have to be prepared beforehand. You have to think about it beforehand. And if you do, you know, you can just say, it's almost like a GoFundMe kind of thing. You just say, hey, here it is. If you want to help, this is the link. If you're not able to, thank you for your love and support. And yeah, I do have some stuff in the freezer also. And my last email that I sent out, if you are not on the newsletter list, let me know, and we can get you connected on there. But I talked about like different foods that I keep in my freezer that are really great. And some of them, you know, like I said, you can freeze your own, you can prep and make your own food, or you can also pick up some frozen foods that are really easy. Like Feel Good Foods is, excuse me, one of my most favorite companies because they make pot stickers. You know, so as long as you don't have a soy allergy, I think everything else you can find stuff with them. But like Feel Good Foods, I can have pot stickers again that somebody else made. I don't have to make it myself. And egg rolls, I can have egg rolls again, you know. So I keep that stuff in my freezer for the days when I just can't cook. Yeah, so that is what I wanted to talk with you about. If you have any questions, please do drop a comment down below and let me know what you're thinking about, what you're worried about. If you tried it and it worked, if you tried it and it didn't work, I would love to hear about this. And I'm going to move on for now, but if I see a comment, then I will definitely respond. So we're moving into the mailbag section. And Justine wrote and asked how to find really good bread. And this is one of those questions that tickles me because I never know what other people think is really good bread. I know what I think is really good bread, but like I was not a Wonder Bread kind of person, and I'm not actually really an artisan bread kind of person. I love, like, there's a company called Nature's Own, and they would make whole grain bread, and oh, I loved that. That for me, that was really good bread. And unless your parents were hippies in the 80s, you probably think that's a terrible bread. But for me, it worked really well. So how do I get that? You know, so the question is, when you're asking, how do I find really good bread? You need to define it a little bit. What is really good bread for you? Is it just like the Wonder Bread? Is it something that tastes more eggy, something that tastes less eggy? Do you like having seeds and nuts in there? Do you not want that? You know, what is really good bread for you? Now, having said that, the two brands that I recommend and that I personally like, and I'm not getting paid for this. I have no connection to these companies. This is just my personal preference that I am sharing with you. The number one is Char, and number two is Canyon Bakehouse. Now, those are, well, Char is actually international. I believe it's based in Italy. And then, no, not Italy, but Europe. Char is a European company, and we import bread to the US, and I really like it. They do a great job. Canyon Bakehouse is an American company. I have seen it all over the US in my travels. So, and I know that, like I've talked with people all over the US and they have access to that too. So for products that you can find pretty much anywhere, I know for sure in the US, those are my go-to brands. But I would say that my number one favorite bread is actually found at my local gluten-free bakery. And I know not everybody has a local gluten-free bakery, but I'm willing to bet that you have something that can ship that's near you. For example, my favorite local bakery is called Organico's. They are based in Talent, Oregon. They do ship all over the US. I've asked them, do they ship to Canada? And they said they've never had to before, but they'd be willing to try. So, and you can order off of their website. So I love supporting the local gluten-free bakeries, and because like one of the things is I go in, every time that I go in, I talk with the owners, and I like, oh, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and what are you guys up to, what are you doing right now? And it feels like I get to support the community, and they are supporting me too, because they're providing food that I can pay for and eat safely. So I highly recommend, if you are looking for really good bread, check your neighborhood, check nearby. You can try using Find Me Gluten Free. You can use Yelp. You can use the Gluten Dude app. But do a search, do a Google search, and look for gluten-free bakeries in your area, because like that bread tends to be really good. I'm also going to say that at this point, now that I have found the recipes and learned the techniques, that my bread is really good. The bread that I bake myself. So, and I'm happy to share those recipes. Just let me know, drop me a DM or a comment, and we can talk about that too. Yeah. So that is how you find really good bread. And if you have more questions, if that doesn't make sense, or you feel like you've tried everything and it's still not working, let me know and we'll talk. Okay. So that has been everything that I have to share with you for today. Thank you so much for swinging by. As always, it is an absolute joy to spend time with you on a Friday afternoon. And I hope that you have a fabulous weekend and a beautiful day, and that you are continuing to enjoy your fabulous gluten-free adventure. Okay, so have a great evening, and I will see you very soon. I will see you same time next week.